Is the American dream dead? Is homeownership out of reach? I'm going to cover that in today's episode, our 4th of July special on your favorite channel, Investing in Bryan-College Station, Texas, where we cover everything about growing your wealth through real estate in my favorite towns of Bryan and College Station, Texas, which of course are right here in the good old US of America, baby. Today we're going to look at whether or not it's easier to buy a house in the United States than in other first world countries around the world. Let's start off by talking about what's great about buying a house in the United States and what makes that feasible. For one, getting a loan on a house in the United States is easier because we have a large selection of mortgages. Mortgages, of course, are a loan on a property. In the United States, we've got fixed rate mortgages. We've got variable rate mortgages. We've got mortgages that are amortized over 15 years or 30 years, and even better yet, they don't mature for those 30 years. We also have mortgages that are backed by the U.S. government, such as FHA, VA, and USDA loans. So there are government assistance, local, state, and national assistance programs to help us buy our first house or to help our veterans buy a house. That is unique to the United States. We have tax advantages. So you can deduct your mortgage interest and your property taxes against your income. If you're an investor, you can use a cool thing called depreciation of the property, which is a paper loss against your actual income of the property to offset some of what you would pay in taxes. We also have a very strong housing economy. So what that basically means is that the economy is growing. Houses are appreciating and have been over a long period of time. A lot of that has to do with population growth, urban planning, and just the fact that we have a lot of land options, be it rural or urban, throughout the United States. And then finally, we have a lot of different types of properties, be it a condo in the city or a 50-acre ranch. You can buy any kind of property in the United States. It's a very large country with a lot of options there. So in summary, we've got a lot of great mortgages. They're backed by the U.S. government. We have tax advantages, a strong housing economy, and a diverse selection of property types. Let's compare that to some of our friends, starting off with our neighbors to the north, the Canadians. As someone who lives in the great state of Texas, specifically here in Bryan-College Station, you know I wouldn't last long up in Canada. It's just too cold. But beyond that, I don't think that I could buy a house in Canada. Why? For one, their mortgages are generally a shorter term. It's not uncommon to have a 5-year mortgage, which means you either have to refinance at the 5-year period or pay back the remainder of your principal on that loan. There's also less government assistance for first-time home buyers. The tax advantages aren't as great. For example, you can't even deduct your mortgage interest. And then overall, the housing economy isn't quite as diverse, although it is fairly similar to the United States. So because the mortgage products aren't as great, I don't see myself buying a house in Canada. Sorry, Canada. I'm going to stay here in the United States. Guys, I've been to Australia and it is freaking sweet. Who doesn't love beautiful beaches and kangaroos everywhere? The people were extremely nice and the food was superb. However, it's probably not going to cut it for me for home ownership. It does have some advantages. For example, it has first-time home buyer incentives. It does have some tax advantages, although not quite as good as the United States. It has a diverse housing selection with a strong housing economy. The big kicker for Australia, though, is the variable interest rates. So what does that mean? Well, here in good old USA, if you bought a house in 2019, you probably locked in an interest rate under 3%. And you probably still enjoy that interest rate today. Your principal and interest payments have not changed because that interest rate had not changed. In Australia, it's not the case. So a variable rate means that each year that rate changes. So today that same homeowner would be paying 6 or 7% on that interest rate, meaning that their monthly payments could double or triple in that same time frame. And for me, not knowing exactly what I'm paying every single month on the house I'm buying is a big red flag. And for that reason, Australia, I'm out. Up next is Japan, a place I actually lived for 6 months. Of course, I was stationed there in the Marine Corps, so I lived on base, didn't have to worry about housing, but I probably would not have bought a house in Japan either way. Now, here's the thing. Japan actually has a lot of the similarities to the United States when it comes to mortgages. There are both fixed and variable rates available to you. There is assistance for first-time home buyers. There are some tax deductions. But the big kicker in Japan is houses don't appreciate. Since 2000, housing prices in Japan have actually been falling, whereas we've seen steady growth here in the United States. So if my house isn't going to be worth more next year than it is this year, do I even want to buy it? That doesn't sound like a good investment to me. I'm an investor, so for that reason, Japan, I'm out. I would think about moving to Germany just for the Autobahn, take myself in a nice Porsche and do 150 miles per hour, whatever that is in kilometers, down that road would be a blast. But I'm probably not buying a house in Germany. The thing with Germany is mostly the lack of first-time home buyer incentives and tax advantages. It does have long-term fixed-rate mortgages, and it has a pretty strong economy, in terms of its housing, but it favors renters, and therefore there's just not incentives for home buyers. And if I can't buy my first house, it's going to be very hard for me to buy my second or third. House hacking is going to be more difficult. You guys know I love house hacking, where you live in a house and rent out either the extra bedrooms, or if you live in a duplex, you rent out the other unit. So if I can't buy my first house, I'm probably not going to be buying or investing in Germany. Sorry, Germans, you're out. What about France? It's romantic. They've got great food. You can visit the Eiffel Tower whenever you want. Plus, they've got all that art. I could be cultured. But I'm probably not buying a house in France. Here's the deal with buying a home in France. The mortgages tend to be 20-year amortized loans. So what exactly does that mean? Well, if you're going to buy a house for 300 euros and you have to pay the mortgage over 20 years instead of 30 years, you're going to pay 300 more euros per month. That's a lot of baguettes. Baguettes. It's a lot of crepes. So I wouldn't be able to feed my crepe habit if I had to live in France. And for that reason, France, you're out. Surely Italy would be a great place to live. You could drink wine every meal for the rest of your life. You could visit the Vatican, Rome, Venice, Sicily. It would be phenomenal. The only problem with Italy is the economy is a little shaky. So they do have fixed rate mortgages, and they do have some home buyer assistance. They do have some tax advantages, but the instability in the economy affects the interest rates to a degree that it becomes difficult to get a loan. Moreover, the income level of folks over in Italy is even lower. So therefore, the income relative to your mortgage payment is such that it's more expensive, relatively speaking, to buy a house in Italy. So a weak economy and a poor ratio of income to the debt you're carrying on that loan is probably a big reason why I'm not going to be buying a house in Italy anytime soon. Sorry, Italy, you're out. Guys, in summary, the American dream is alive and well, and homeownership is obtainable. I am proof of that. The house I live in, I purchased using a VA loan. That's a government-backed loan, meaning I had less down payment. I was able to get a low interest rate. I was able to get a fixed interest rate, meaning my monthly payment will not change month over month for the entirety of the loan. And it's a 30-year amortized loan, meaning, relatively speaking, my monthly payment is low. I also have tax advantages, meaning I'm paying less to Uncle Sam every single year because I own this house, and the strong housing economy has resulted in great appreciation of my house, growing my wealth, allowing me to then grow my real estate portfolio. As a result, I've been able to visit most of the countries on our list today. I have sipped the wine in Italy. I've eaten brats in Germany. I've sat on the beaches in Australia, and I've seen the sights of Japan. And the reason I've been able to do that is thanks to the American dream, case in point. Now, if you want to argue with me, feel free. That's why we have the comment section below. And if you have purchased in a different country, I want to hear all about your experience. Was it better or worse than what I've described here in the United States? I'd love to hear about it. Definitely let me know. That's why we got comments. Also, if you're looking to buy a house here in Bryan or College Station, I can help you with that. My contact information is in the details below. You guys take it easy. I'll see you next time.